All right, today we are diving into something that's really personal and honestly can be pretty painful. We're going to decode the pattern of why so many of us get pulled into relationships with manipulative people over and over again. If you've ever felt like you're stuck in a loop you just can't seem to break, this is for you. We're going to look at the hidden code that's running the show deep inside. So let's get into it.
So, here it is, the big question. Why do I keep falling for manipulators? It's the kind of thing that can just echo in your head, right? Why does this always happen? What is wrong with me? And you're not alone. So many people ask this, and almost always they end up blaming themselves.
And the answers we usually come up with sound something like, oh, I'm just too nice, or I guess I'm just naive. But what if the real reason is a little more uncomfortable, but also way more empowering? Here's the truth. It's not a character flaw, it's your programming. Manipulators don't just pick people randomly. They are experts at sensing your specific psychological patterns, even when you can't see them yourself. So let's talk about that invisible pull. We're about to unpack the deep psychological reasons that this kind of attraction feels so strong, so magnetic, and why, crazily enough, it can sometimes feel just like coming home.
Here's the first thing you have to get. Attraction isn't logical, it's psychological. And the number one rule is this. Your brain isn't looking for what's healthy. It's looking for what feels familiar. And even if that familiar feeling is total chaos, the intensity and the unpredictability of a manipulator can feel strangely and deeply comfortable to a brain that's seen it before.
The first big reason for this is a concept called emotional imprinting. Okay, so think of it like this. It's a blueprint for love, an unconscious template that your brain built based on your earliest experiences with connection, way back before you ever had a say in it. So if you grew up with a lot of inconsistency, right, or maybe mixed signals, affection that was tied to how well you performed, or just emotional highs and lows, your nervous system learned a really powerful lesson. Love feels unstable. So fast forward, and someone comes along who's warm one minute and cold the next, your brain doesn't see a red flag. It feels a sense of, oh, I know this. This feels like home.
Okay, reason number 2 is a wild one. It's called the arousal transfer effect. It's basically a glitch in our brains. Manipulators are masters of creating these intense emotional spikes. You know, the drama, the tension, the crazy highs. Your brain feels all of that intensity and it mislabels it. It confuses all that emotional noise with a deep, meaningful connection. It literally mistakes chaos for chemistry.
And here's the third one. And oh man, this is a huge trap for empathetic people. You're not actually falling for their behavior. You're falling for their potential. You see these little glimpses of warmth or vulnerability, and your empathy just kicks into overdrive, creating this whole story. I can help them, or deep down they're a good person who's just hurt. You fall in love with the story you've created, not the person who's actually in front of you. The fourth reason is that your nervous system itself has learned the wrong math. If your past is full of these emotional guessing games, then your brain has basically learned this equation. Chaos equals love. Uncertainty equals passion. And all that tension, that feels like chemistry. And this right here is why a stable, secure, predictable person can feel, well, boring. Your nervous system isn't bored, it's just not used to peace. And number 5, you feel their wounds, and you want to be the one to heal them. It's a classic empath move. You can almost see the hurt little kid behind their bad behavior. But here is the painful, hard truth. Most of the time, they don't want to be healed. They want to be protected from their own feelings. And like our source says, you cannot heal someone who refuses to feel. So that's the why. But what about the how? How does this attraction get so strong that it feels literally impossible to break? Let's get into the actual mechanism, this powerful conditioning loop that they use.
It's called the fixation loop, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. It has 3 stages. First, the emotional reward. This is the love bombing, the intense attention, the warmth. It feels amazing. Then, step 2, emotional withdrawal. They pull back, they get cold, distant, unpredictable, and your anxiety goes through the roof. And then, stage 3, emotional relief. They come back, turn on the charm, and your brain is flooded with relief. That cycle, reward, withdrawal, relief, is classic behavioral conditioning.
So this is the main takeaway right here. That feeling you think is this deep, powerful chemistry, it's not. It's conditioning. Your nervous system is literally being trained to crave the relief that comes after they create the anxiety. You're not addicted to them, you're addicted to the loop. and you can't logic your way out of it.
And what about when you try to leave? Why do they always come back? It feels like they must really miss you, right? Well, the psychological truth is a bit colder than that. They don't miss you, they miss their impact on you. When you pull away, you take away their control, and it hits their ego hard. So they turn the charm back on, not out of love, but as a tool to get you back in line and restart that fixation loop all over again.
Okay, I know that was a lot, but understanding the trap is the first step to getting out of it. And now we get to the most important part, rewriting your emotional code. This isn't about blaming yourself. This is about taking your power back. So let's walk through the actual steps you can take to break this cycle for good.
The very first step is to become a translator for your own feelings. That intense chemistry or that spark, you need to learn to pause and relabel it. A lot of the time, what you're feeling isn't some magical connection, it's anxiety. That deep connection, it's probably just emotional tension. And that spark, it might actually be the fear of abandonment kicking in. Seeing this clearly is like flipping a light switch on in a dark room.
All right, so here's your practical 5-step process. 1. Identify your pattern. Seriously, sit down and look at your last few relationships. What's the common theme? 2. Reprogram your baseline. You do this by spending time with genuinely calm, stable people. Let your nervous system learn what peace feels like. 3. Constantly check in with yourself. Ask the question, do I actually like this person or am I just hooked on the uncertainty? 4. Resist the return. When they come back, see it for what it is, the loop trying to hook you again, not a sign of true love. And find the big one. Build a new standard. Decide what your non-negotiables are. Things like clarity, respect, and consistency. Period.
And this is so important to understand. The ultimate goal isn't to get better at spotting manipulators so you can run away. The real work is internal. You break the cycle for good by healing the parts of you that were programmed to be okay with their behavior. You break it by becoming immune.
And when you do this work, something really cool starts to happen. Your desires actually begin to change. You find yourself wanting clarity instead of all that confusion. You start to crave consistency, not chaos. Calm starts to feel way better than tension. And that thing you used to call boring, you'll start to recognize it for what it is. Peace.
And I love this final thought because it just says it all. You move from this state of survival, always chasing the next adrenaline hit from the highs and lows, to a state where you can just breathe. Real love shouldn't feel like a roller coaster you have to survive. It should feel like oxygen.
So, we'll end on this question for you to take with you. You've seen the pattern, you understand the code and the mechanism, you have the map to get out. So the only question left is, now that you can read the pattern, what are you going to choose to feel instead?